Lewis Hamilton's spin at Spa. But this time, it wasn't a driver error. It was a failure to inform, a failure to prepare, a failure by Ferrari, right before sprint qualifying. They gave Hamilton an experimental brake system, without warning. And after 20 years in Formula One, he said something he's never said before. That was the first time in my life I spun locking the rear brakes. This wasn't just a spin, it was the moment he stopped trusting the car. Friday, Spa-Francorchamps, sprint qualifying. Lewis Hamilton is flying. And then, the bus stop chicane. Snap, spin, 18th on the grid. Everyone assumed it was driver error, but Lewis, he immediately drops a hint in the post-session interview. We've got a new component. Charles had it in Montreal. It's the first time I've used it. Translation? Ferrari gave him experimental Brembo brake materials, new discs, new pads, new feeling, and zero preparation. Want to know how we should have seen this coming? Charles Leclerc, FP1, Montreal, same component. Crashed. That wasn't just a coincidence. That was a red flag, wrapped in red overalls. And yet, Ferrari handed the same parts to Hamilton at Spa, with rain on the radar and no race weekend data. You don't need to be an engineer to see the problem. Hamilton isn't just adapting to a new team, he's adapting to a completely different philosophy. At Mercedes, he ran carbon industry brakes. For 12 years, he knew their bite point. He trusted their modulation. He built world championships with them. Now, Ferrari throws him Brembo hardware with a unique engine braking profile. Unfamiliar brakes plus aggressive downshifts equals rear lockup. It's not driver error. It's a mismatch of trust and machinery. This isn't about brake discs. This is about how Ferrari integrates its upgrades, or rather, how it doesn't. Hamilton even said it. On the simulator, the new rear suspension felt the same. After Spa, still feels the same. They installed a brand new suspension setup, and the car still bounces like a shopping cart on cobblestones. You can hear it in his tone, polite, diplomatic, but behind the smile, frustration. Hamilton didn't just critique the components, he went deeper. We brought a new floor in Bahrain, then nothing until Austria. Meanwhile, Mercedes and Red Bull bring something every weekend. That's not just a statement. That's an indictment of Ferrari's entire development strategy. They're not building a championship car, they're patching holes on a schedule. And in modern F1, if you're not upgrading in real time, you're getting left behind. Imagine this, you're a 7-time world champion. You switch teams at 40, you leave your comfort zone, and then you're handed unknown parts, in unpredictable weather, with no feel, no confidence, no time. That's not progress, that's a gamble. And for Lewis Hamilton, trust is everything. If he doesn't trust the brakes, he can't drive on instinct. And if he can't drive on instinct, he's not Lewis Hamilton. Let's stop pretending Ferrari's problem is technical, it's cultural. They drop upgrades without integration. They make bold moves, then act surprised by the consequences. They gave Hamilton a brake package that already spun Leclerc, and then watched him spin too. What does that say about feedback loops, about risk management, about learning? It says Ferrari doesn't listen, not to its data, not to its drivers, not even to its champions. But here's the part you can't miss. Hamilton isn't angry, he's worried that Ferrari's technical system isn't responsive enough, that by the time they learn from this, the season will be gone. He says, "I'm happy to see new parts. There's a big push at the factory." But that's PR armor. The truth is in his results. Q1 eliminations, rear lockups, zero confidence, and still, no fix. Ferrari has a narrow window. They've got Hamilton in 2025 and 2026. But if they keep feeding him unpredictable upgrades, if they keep ignoring driver feel, if they keep spinning wheels instead of building trust, they won't just lose races, they'll waste the most accomplished driver in F1 history. And maybe lose him mentally before 2026 even begins. Because champions don't wait forever. They adapt fast, they move faster, and when it's clear the team isn't on their level, they check out. Lewis Hamilton wasn't just fighting Alex Albon at Spa. He was fighting his own car, fighting Ferrari's strategy, and fighting a critical mistake that nobody wants to talk about. Because in the middle of his charge through the field, he drops the coldest radio message of his Ferrari career. "I can't attack because I've got no fuel, mate." And that one sentence says everything about Ferrari's chaos at the Belgian Grand Prix. Hamilton's weekend started as badly as it gets. 2 Q1 exits, lap times deleted for track limits, P16 for the race, a Ferrari that looked heavy, slow, and uncertain. So what does Ferrari do? They break parc fermé, they rip up the setup sheet, they throw on a high downforce wing and a brand new hybrid power unit. It was a bold move. It worked, for a while. The race starts under the safety car. 4 laps of patience. Then, green flag. Hamilton is electric in the wet. He slices through 5 cars like a man possessed. The Ferrari finally looks alive. Then, lap 12. He's the first to risk slicks. The call is perfect. Suddenly, 7 pesos. Momentum is building. And then, silence from the car. Riccardo Adami comes on the radio. We still need lift and coast. Hamilton's reply is pure frustration. I can't attack because I've got no fuel, mate. Can I keep pushing or not? Adami pauses. Then the order comes. Let's stay where we are. Translation? Ferrari underfueled him. They didn't give him enough to fight for 600,000. Not enough to even touch Albon's Williams. Let's be brutally honest. You don't underfuel Lewis Hamilton in a car that needs every drop of aggression to survive. You just don't. This isn't Mercedes, where efficiency hides mistakes. This is Ferrari, a team still figuring out its identity. And they just handcuffed a 7-time world champion in the one area where he's unstoppable. Late race aggression. Hamilton doesn't hold back post-race. We underfueled for the wing we had. Read that again. Ferrari knew they'd switched him to higher downforce, which burns more fuel, and still didn't compensate. That's not strategy. That's negligence. And Hamilton, to his credit, says it calmly, but you can hear the sting. And here's the irony. This was one of Hamilton's best Ferrari drives yet. He starts 17th. He gambles on slicks first. He drags that SF-25 from nowhere to 7th, while running fuel-saving mode for half the race. Imagine what he could have done with the fuel to actually attack. Albon's Williams wouldn't have survived. P6 was on the table. Fred Vasseur laughs it off with the media. No, you are clever enough to understand why we lifted and coasted. Really, Fred? Because what we see is a team that still can't get the basics right. Ferrari fans didn't tune in to watch Hamilton nurse a car like it's 2014. They tuned in to watch him fight, and Ferrari robbed him of that. But listen to Hamilton's own words. I always love races like that, where you make your way through the field. It's how my life started in karting. That's vintage Hamilton, turning chaos into performance. Even when the car, the fuel, and the strategy aren't on his side. But let's not mistake gratitude for satisfaction. Hamilton isn't here for P7s. He's here to win, and Ferrari still isn't giving him the tools. This isn't just a fuel story, it's a pattern. Brake issues at Spa qualifying. A suspension upgrade he says feels the same as before. Fuel miscalculations in a wet race. Ferrari is bringing upgrades, yes, but they're not bringing clarity. And clarity is what Hamilton needs if he's going to lift this team out of mediocrity. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If Ferrari keeps tripping over its own decisions, if Hamilton keeps delivering 10 out of 10 drives for 6 out of 10 results, the frustration will boil over. Because Lewis Hamilton is not in Formula One to salvage points. He's here to write history. And history doesn't care about excuses like, we underfueled. A matchbox, a burning match, a date, August 8th, and a caption, we've struck the match, now follow the smoke. That's all Lewis Hamilton needed to send the entire F1 world into a frenzy. Retirement, team shakeup, new brand, something's coming, and it's coming fast. But this isn't a goodbye. This is a warning shot, and it's aimed straight at the status quo in Maranello. August 8th, the first Friday of the F1 summer break, while every other driver disappears to Mykonos or Monaco. Hamilton lights a metaphorical fuse, a cryptic Instagram story, a dark room, a single match smoldering against a box marked August 8th. Then a second post, photographs, architecture, volcanoes, his hands placing each image on a table like puzzle pieces. And the message, follow the smoke. This isn't marketing fluff. This is a declaration. Hamilton is building something, and he wants us to know before Ferrari does. Let's rewind. Spa. The worst qualifying run of his entire F1 career. P18 for the sprint, P16 for the Grand Prix. Out in Q1 twice. And yet, he finishes 7th after starting from the pit lane. In the rain, with a fuel load so light he had to coast halfway through. The man's body language was calm. His voice, measured, but his message, clear. Ferrari is still disorganized, and Hamilton is done being patient. Here's the trap most people fall into. They think Hamilton is just a driver. But this is a man who's spent the last 15 years building an empire. Fashion, film, philanthropy, performance. This teaser isn't about retirement, it's about expansion. A global project, maybe a media brand, maybe something no one's even guessed yet. But make no mistake, it's tied to legacy, to image, to impact. And he's launching it from within Ferrari's walls, not outside of them. Let's talk about fear, not the kind that shows up on track, the kind that haunts champions when the trophies stop coming. Hamilton said it himself. You had Kimi, Fernando, Seb, all world champions, but they didn't win with Ferrari. I refuse for that to be the case with me. That sentence alone tells you everything. This isn't about one race. This isn't about 2025. This is about legacy. He knows time is running out. He knows the window to make history is narrow. And that's why he's forcing change now, even if it means breaking the old Ferrari structure piece by piece. During the 3-week break before Spa, while other drivers were chilling, Hamilton was at the factory, every week. He called meetings with Elkann, Vigna, Vasseur. He wrote documents outlining structural flaws in the team. He personally sat with the head of development, engine leads, suspension engineers, 30 engineers in a room, and Hamilton debriefing every single one. Name another driver doing that. You can't. This is more than a campaign. This is a coup. And Ferrari, they're starting to listen. Finally, the match, the smoke, the date. It's not just clever branding, it's metaphor. Ferrari was stagnant. Now the match is lit. Hamilton is the spark. And now he wants the world to follow the trail of transformation he's lighting inside the team. Because if Ferrari won't tell the story, he will. And he'll do it on his terms. Publicly, loudly, relentlessly. Let's cut through the noise. This isn't a retirement announcement. He signed until 2026. This isn't a cry for help. He's already reshaping Ferrari from the inside. What it is a reminder that even at 40, Lewis Hamilton remains the most powerful force in the sport. Not just on Sundays, but in meetings, in factories, in media, in culture. He's not fading away, he's setting the tone. Hamilton knows he doesn't have 10 years. He says it himself. I don't have as much time as Antonelli. So it's crunch time. And when a driver of his caliber says crunch time, that's not a cliché. That's a threat to the establishment. Ferrari can either evolve with him, or he'll outgrow them, publicly. Because for Hamilton, legacy isn't a chapter. It's the entire reason he's still in the game. It was quiet. No cameras, no podium. Just Lewis Hamilton, stepping back into the Mercedes motorhome. Not for PR, not for nostalgia, but for Kimi Antonelli, the teenager who took the seat he left behind. And what Hamilton told him? Might be the most important message of Antonelli's career. Spa 2025, rain, pressure, chaos, and Kimi Antonelli is sinking. P20 in sprint qualifying, a pit lane start on Sunday. No points, no rhythm, not even a glimmer of the kid we saw earlier this year. This was rock bottom, and everyone could see it, especially Antonelli. He runs wide in SQ1, digs up half the gravel trap. George Russell drives through it and questions his own performance. That's how fragile it's become. Antonelli isn't just struggling with the car, he's second-guessing his place in Formula One. Every mistake gets amplified. Every bad session becomes a referendum on his future. Then, Hamilton walks in. The 7-time world champion, the man whose seat Antonelli now occupies. He visits the Mercedes garage, but instead of media rounds or photo ops, he pulls Kimi aside. No drama, no speeches, just presence. And one clear message: keep your head up. Bad weekends happen, keep believing. Lewis didn't need to say much, because every rookie in F1 lives with one haunting fear. What if I'm not good enough? And in the middle of that fear, to hear Hamilton tell you it's okay? That's not just reassurance, that's validation from the highest level. Antonelli didn't need technical advice. He needed someone to remind him that this journey is brutal, even for the greats. Imagine this, you're 18, you've just been thrown into the seat left by the most successful driver in F1 history. And every weekend, you're being compared to George Russell, to Hamilton, to Max, to legends. That's not racing, that's surviving an identity crisis on live television. So when Spa breaks you down, and the press starts whispering about your future, Hamilton showing up isn't kindness, it's rescue. Hamilton has been there. Shanghai 2007, championship on the line. He beached the car in pit entry. Career-defining? Almost. Career-ending? Number. But he knows what it feels like to choke with the world watching. That's why this moment matters. Because it's not just sympathy, it's legacy passing wisdom to youth. Champions aren't made on good weekends. They're made when everything collapses, and they find one reason to keep going. Hamilton became a legend because he refused to let failure define him. And now he's telling Kimi, you can do the same. We talk about Lewis Hamilton's titles, his dominance, his activism, his style. But this quiet moment of mentorship, it's part of the same greatness. It's what separates the legends from the stat collectors. He's building the next generation as he competes against them. That's unheard of. That's unselfish. That's rare. And it's not the first time. Earlier this year, when Isaac Hadjar crashed on the formation lap in Australia, it was Anthony Hamilton who hugged him. And later, Lewis sent him a message too. The Hamiltons don't just talk about legacy, they live it. They understand what pressure does to kids in this sport, and they make sure they're never alone in that pain. Now it's on Antonelli. Hamilton gave him perspective, but belief must be earned, not gifted. The back half of 2025 is coming, and Antonelli has a choice: collapse under expectation, or rise through it. Lewis Hamilton just reminded him, one weekend doesn't define you, but what you do after it might define everything.